BMW N54 fuel injectors. Why do they fail? How do I diagnose them? And how do I replace them? So these engines are notorious for carbon buildup. You can see it in this photo of the backside of these intake valves before I cleaned them. The same thing happens inside the combustion chamber. As the engine cools down, that carbon solidifies on the injectors and it makes these direct injectors clog up. Another reason why they fail is they can start to leak. I've seen with a boroscope down through the spark plug hole, these fuel injectors just dripping down onto the piston, and they'll develop those types of leaks. You'll have excess fuel consumption and the air fuel mixture ratio will just be completely thrown off. So why am I replacing these injectors right now? Well, I just finished replacing both turbos on this N54 and it's running pretty dang good, but I had a misfire on cylinder number 3. I swapped the plug and the coil around. The misfire stayed on cylinder number 3. I did a leak down test and the intake and exhaust valves were good. I did a compression test and the piston was good. The only thing I haven't done was boroscope down into it to see if the injector was leaking or if it was clogged, but I'm pretty confident that this injector is the problem. Now, the first thing I would do if I had any sort of misfire on a BMW engine, take the ignition coil and the spark plug out from that cylinder that's faulting. Let's say it's cylinder number 3. I'll put the spark plug in cylinder number 2. I'll put the ignition coil in cylinder number 4. I'll go clear the faults, drive it, get the fault to happen again, and see if it followed the ignition coil or the spark plug. And in my case, it stayed on the same cylinder. Now, my cylinder number 3 misfire never came back, but I do have an air fuel mixture ratio too lean on bank 1, and I still think it's associated with that fuel injector in cylinder number 3. But just to be sure, let's pull the spark plug out for that cylinder number 3. Let's stick the boroscope down into the cylinder and see what it looks like. For this N54 engine, you need this specialty 12.14 millimeter socket for the spark plugs. It is not a traditional spark plug socket. Now on this engine, I have replaced the spark plugs, but I haven't replaced the ignition coils. We're gonna be doing that today. Also, you can see just how absolutely saturated that spark plug is. It smells a lot just like dirty fuel. There's a lot of wetness on the tip of that spark plug too. So I bet our injectors are leaking. I also have seen a lot of excess fuel consumption coming from this engine. So this is a cheap boroscope off of Amazon. It was about 30 bucks. It connects into my iPhone, and we're gonna go down into the cylinder with this thing. We're gonna take a look at what that injector looks like on cylinder number 3. All right, so I got the boroscope down there in cylinder number 3, and it does look like we have a little puddle on top of the piston here. Now I can't tell if that's gasoline or oil, but I have done a cylinder leak down test on this entire engine and I had no loss of pressure through the intake or the exhaust valves. Based off the smell on the spark plug and the probability of these injectors leaking, I'm going to assume that it's gasoline because that would be a very large puddle of oil just settling down on top of the piston. Also try to take a little bendy magnet with like a little piece of paper towel, and I'll go down there and see if we can soak that up to get a confirmation on what it is. But I'm quite confident that that injector's leaking. And if it's leaking, then it's not gonna have an appropriate spray pattern to give us an appropriate air fuel to mixture ratio on that cylinder. And I think while we're at it too, I'll just pull all the ignition coils out because I'm gonna be replacing them this trip, and we'll pull all the spark plugs out and just take a look down and see what everything looks like. Another pro tip is if you are boroscoping down into the combustion chambers, you don't want the engine to be smoking hot. If you do, and you leave that camera down in there too long, it will completely cook the camera. Ask me how I know. I've done it with a very expensive snap-on boroscope, and it completely wiped out the camera tip. Yeah, these ignition coils are all mismatched, no-name ignition coils too. And these cars are so sensitive with ignition coils, you really need to put good, solid, reputable coils in there. Make sure they match and that they're of the same brand. And this car is just a hodgepodge mixture of ignition coils. I can't trust any of them. So it's gonna give me some good peace of mind knowing that we have ignition coils in here, new ignition coils. And I think this thing is just gonna drive so much better with new fuel injectors. But I don't just wanna show you how to slap them in, I wanna show you how to do your due diligence to see if they are actually faulty, because anybody can just throw parts in, but having the knowledge on how to diagnose specific components is where the real value comes. Now, I don't recommend you do this at home, but I dum-dummed a little piece of paper towel onto the back side of this magnet, and I'm gonna try to go down this spark plug hole, see if I can soak up some of that liquid on the piston, and that just reeks of gasoline. Let's check the flammability of it. That's gotta be gasoline, because it just lit up right away. I'm gonna say that's a leaky injector. Now, some of these get really bad, and what I used to do at the shop is we would run the car and get it nice and hot, and that's what I should have done. And then we pull the plug, pull the coil, boroscope down, and we see if the injector is actively leaking after the car's been shut off while there's still a bunch of pressure built up in the rail. Let's get the rest of these plugs out. Super wet. Dry, dry. Number 6 is partially wet. All right, and then number 5 is decently wet. Okay, so we've confirmed that number 3 is leaking. Let's take a look at the rest of them. Number 1 piston is up, so it's a little hard to see. Number 2 piston is definitely wet on the top. It looks a little bit washed out by fuel. Right there at that little orange spot you can see. Number 3 we already did. Number 4's got a little bit of a wet spot there on the back. And you can see that fuel, it sort of washes the top of the piston down a little bit, right? Because gasoline has that effect. So it'll sort of clean the piston. Number 5. Oh yeah, that one's got some wetness there, showing that piston's nice and clean. And of course, you know, again, that's gonna be related to fuel. Fuel will wash pistons clean like that. God, that spark plug hole looks so bad. What is all that junk? And this one looks pretty decent. Nope, there's a little bit of washout there. Now, even if I didn't have the proof of gasoline settling on top of these pistons or watching it physically leak out of the top of the injectors, I was still going to replace these injectors because the car is running slightly rough after it's been sitting after driving, which is just super indicative of leaking injectors. And also, these injectors are sadly a wear item on this car. All 6 fuel injectors, the high pressure fuel pump, the low pressure fuel sensor down before the high pressure fuel pump, these all tend to go out. They all need updating from Index 11 injectors to Index 12 is usually a good idea. These engines are super high maintenance, sadly, but they are really, really fast engines. And it's a great car for me to make content for you guys to show you how to do repairs on these N54s, because we all know they need a lot of them. So let's start with the injector teardown. Let's get these old injectors out of here. Let's start putting these new beautiful injectors in. Now I'm gonna be installing these Index 12 Vitesco technology fuel injectors, and I bought them from the one and only FCP Euro. That's where I buy all my parts. And I also got these L-door ignition coils from FCP Euro as well. Now, why did I buy from FCP Euro? Because they have a lifetime replacement guarantee. So that means if my ignition coils go out or my fuel injectors go out, whether it's 500 miles or 500,000 miles, they will replace it, no questions asked, and I will get a brand new fuel injector to throw back into the car. So that means you only ever have to buy these parts once. And we all know that these BMWs chew through fuel injectors, sometimes in as short as 50,000 miles. So if you buy it once from FCP Euro, it's a done deal. You don't have to worry about it. You're covered. Now, FCP Euro has a huge Cyber Week sale coming up. It starts on November 27th, and they're giving up to 20% off on over 40,000 products across their website. And if you didn't know, they also have a new facility in Mesa, Arizona, one in Connecticut, and now one in Arizona. So us people on the West Coast get super fast shipping times. I'm getting packages in as quick as like 2 days sometimes. It's perfect time for you guys to get some holiday gifts for those car lovers in your life. Between the fast shipping, the incredible price, and the lifetime replacement guarantee, you cannot go wrong with buying your products from FCP Euro. So again, a big thank you to FCP Euro for sponsoring today's video. Really appreciate you guys. Let's get these fuel injectors in. All right, let's start with disconnecting these fuel lines. Now be careful, there will be pressure built up in this high pressure fuel system. So wear safety glasses and break them loose slowly if the car was just running. But we want to disconnect both sides, both the fuel rail and here at the injector. This is a 14mm wrench. All right, that's all of them. Now, Back in March, I restored a BMW E90 and I gave it away to one of my viewers completely for free. One of my other viewers saw that and gave me this car for free. And I was told that he replaced the injectors when he had it. However, there's a little 6-digit code on these injectors that you have to put into the computer. Basically tells the computer what the parameters of the injectors are, so the computer knows what the spray pattern of the injector is and adjusts it accordingly to match all the other ones. But on cylinder number 6, I couldn't even read it when I was putting the numbers in. And there's been a lot of work on this car that makes me feel like I can't really trust those injectors. And so that's another big reason why we need to replace them on this car as well. And I'm just stoked that we're gonna get this thing running properly again, because I think this is the last piece of the puzzle to really get this thing running and driving sweet. It's also been drinking a lot of fuel since I've been driving it. Like, the fuel consumption's just been terrible, and I really think it's injector related. All right, next step to getting these injectors ready is we need to pull out these little electrical connectors that go to each injector. You can just pull them pretty hard too, and they'll pop out as well. Next step is we need to get those brackets removed. They go down and they push the injectors down into the cylinder head. Now, some of these injectors already feel pretty loose, like that came out pretty easy. They usually have to come out with a slide hammer. Check out the tip on this thing. See all that carbon buildup? I'm really happy we're replacing these. Yeah, these are coming out way too easy. All right, now we're gonna be prepping the new injectors for install. These are called decoupling rings, and I also got these from FCP Euro. What you do is you take them and you slide them over the injector, and then they go up over this lip and they clip in there, and then they lock down nice like that. This is basically kind of like the sealing surface, I believe, for these injectors. So we'll just go through and do that to all 6 real fast. Now, as we're getting ready to put these in, we're gonna go through and document this 6-digit number, 5, 7. And we're gonna do that for all 6 injectors, so you don't have to go through with the little flashlight, try to read them off the injectors once they're already installed in the car. Has this little protective cap on it. I'm just going over to my bench vise, gently grabbing the edges on that. You could use pliers. I'm just pulling that out. Number 3, love this bench vise. Number 4, number 5, number 6. And I like to keep these caps on just to prevent any contamination while I'm doing the install. Okay, now we can work on getting all this bracketry back in. Now you'll see these brackets sort of hook over the injectors. You don't want the bow facing down, you want it facing up. Because as you tighten it up, it's gonna push it flat and sandwich the injector down. Okay, now it's time to put the rails back on. These can be kind of finicky. You kind of want to get both ends started at the same time. So start that end, start the other end. Now we're just gonna snug these down with our 14 mil wrench. All right, injectors are snugged up. Let's put our injector connectors back in, get those wired back up. Time for spark plugs. $25 Newton meters on the plugs. All right, that's all torqued up. Let's get this little heat shield back in there. Make sure these are all installed. Now the last piece of the puzzle, our ignition coils. I'm feeling really good though with these Eldor ignition coils, these new Vitesco injectors. Yeah, we're gonna be fixing up 2 very common weak points on this engine. If this is your first time seeing the channel, my name is Alec and this is Day Off DIY. I help teach people how to fix their own BMWs to save them time and money. I've done a bunch of videos on this car. One, I showed the entire process of replacing the turbochargers and dropping the subframe and replacing the oil pan, plus engine mounts and transmission mounts. I've also shown a complete cooling system overhaul, how to replace the radiator, upper hose, I've done oil filter housing. I have a video on showing you how to do the carbon removal on the intake valves. I have a bunch of videos on this car showing a bunch of different things. If you have an N54 or an E90 or just a BMW, or if you just like the sound of my voice, please go through, check out my playlist and watch my other videos. It is super helpful. YouTube loves it if you go through and subscribe to my channel and watch my other stuff. And it would really mean a lot because I'm trying to do this full time as a YouTube content creator. I quit my job as a firefighter almost 2 years now. We've been doing this almost 2 years, and I'd really like to continue and keep giving away more cars to you guys. And once we have the finances to do that, I'm absolutely going to do that. Now let's fire this thing up. Just kidding, we can't fire it up. What we need to do is we need to make sure we're all buttoned back up, which I think we are. I'm gonna put this little strut bar back in real quick. Then we need to plug this thing into ISTA, and we need to tell the DME the injector numbers that we wrote down. And once we're done with that, then we can fire this thing up and see how she runs. Come here. Yeah. This is Sage. She's the sweetest dog in the whole world. She just turned 2 years old, October 30th, day before Halloween. Okay, we got our ISTA connected. Now, I'm not gonna be able to help you out with putting these codes into your computer. I have a bootleg copy of ISTA that I'm not really sure other ways to do it, so I do a little bit of research on your own, figure out how exactly you can get those numbers put in. But I'm gonna go here to Service Function, Adjust Injectors, Injector Quality Compensation. Here we go. It is recommended to correct the faults. Okay, those are corrected. Was new DME installed? No. Showing us our old injector values. We're gonna enter new adjustment values. What cylinder do you wish to enter? Let's do first cylinder number 1. 578208. Continue. Do you wish to enter values for other cylinders? Yes. Which cylinder? Number 2. Okay, what's the value? 576223. Continue. Cylinder number 3, 571221. Cylinder number 4, 564217. Okay, cylinder number 5, 573226. And last one, cylinder number 6, 565222. Now don't copy my numbers. These numbers are going to be unique for every single injector. Now, all these numbers are matching right now. When I save it, the numbers are going to change. Don't let that throw you off. Everything's okay. And we're going to save adjustment values here. You wish to store the following adjustments? Yes, save. Switch off terminal 15. Turn the engine off. Following are saved permanently. And see, the numbers that are now saved are different, so don't worry about that. It changes the numbers once it saves them. Switch on ignition. Okay, and we're done. Next, we're gonna go to vehicle info, faults, delete fault memory, get that mixture control fault out of there. I had 2 lean on bank 1, and I think it's injector related. Okay, faults are cleared. Close operation, baby. All right, time to fire this puppy up and see how she runs. You ready? Woo. Those injectors are sounding nice.
A few minutes later.
Injectors have really quieted down now. I gotta fix that belt. I think it just needs a new belt. She ain't leaking a drop of oil though. That's a beautiful thing. I just wish this belt wasn't chirping. It's such an ugly noise. Fixed it. Sounding pretty dang good. She's idling really good. This thing is gonna be a monster. Guys, I can tell the power increase already just from it in park. Like I just touched the throttle and it just goes. It just wants to go. Let me go get my wallet. We're gonna go drive this thing, put some gas in it, take it for a little joyride. I love this garage. I love this shop. I love you guys. Thanks for being a part of this channel and supporting me and watching my content. Oh, it doesn't have that rough idle in reverse anymore. It's idling so well. Boy, oh boy, I'm excited. This was a great decision to put these Vitesco injectors in there. Ooh. Guys, it's like a new car. I think we got a clear highway. Oh my goodness. I just hit 80 miles an hour in 3rd gear. That is crazy. Some weird noise just happened. I don't know what it is. I don't know, but I need to pull over and check it. hear that? Oh, I know what it is. It's this. When the wind's catching it and it's flapping and grinding right there. That's an easy fix, guys. Easy fix. Ain't nothing can stop us. We're good, baby. We're good. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. I'm gonna go get this thing fixed. I'll see you guys on my next day off. Cheers, everybody.